on the right-hand side, we've got a list of topics, but feel free to chime in with some questions, of course. So, yeah, let's start off with the first one, which, of course, everybody is anxious to find out, of course, about the RTX 3000 against the RTX 2000 series cards. We've all had a chance to test them, but what's everybody's opinions?
So I guess
Jarrod's first.
Silence.
they're very quiet, and I guess they're also not. They don't have the highest temperatures, so that's why everyone's quiet. But no, I haven't done that, so I'll let you guys talk about it.
Right. Well, yeah, go on, Jarrod.
Yeah. So I still haven't actually looked at anything like temperatures or fan noise. Literally, all I've spent my time on so far is just, I guess, what most people would care about is just like testing the games. So there's still a lot of stuff that I actually need to do. But so far seems pretty good. I mean, I guess it depends because, like, I'm sure we'll get into this, but the power limit ranges can be quite different. That well, in some of the cases I tested, I had like the 3070 beating the 3080, which we all expected. Just comes down to the power limit at the end of the day. Yeah,
without doubt. I had the opportunity to test, of course, the 3070 against the 2070 Super in the same chassis. So I was looking, both using dedicated GPUs. There was no Optimus involved here at all, and I was looking about 18%. I say 15% at 1080p and 21% at 1440p. So
those laptops had both Intel CPUs, I think.
Yeah, the only difference was one was an i9 and one was the i7 10870.
Yeah, they're basically the same thing. It just again depends on power limits. Basically,
I mean, it's quite clear. I mean, of course, this is one of the subjects that 1080p would seem to bottleneck it, and that's what I certainly thought. What's your thoughts, on Brandon?
Here, 1 second. I'm getting this finalized real quick. There we go. All right, now we should be good to go. I was getting the overlay set up so we'd have the topics in the top left. That was one thing I forgot to do before we got this thing started. All right, so sorry about that. All right, I'm fully engaged now. Should be rocking. All right, so we're talking 2000 RTX versus 3000 RTX that we're starting with here.
Yeah. I mean, you've tested your G17, eh?
Steven, check the chat, man. People are saying you do not have sound.
Oh,
I don't have sound.
You are muted.
How am I freaking muted?
I don't know, but sound loud and clear on my end.
Okay, so I think we should give just a couple minutes for all the stream viewers to hop in because all the notifications just went out, for your stream and my stream, and so we should give just a couple minutes to get everyone into the stream, and then we can. I think we should do it. Yeah, because then then we would get everyone in here. So I've got 43 in here, but it's going up pretty quick. So, this guy says Ikaru says I'm legit sub to all of you guys.
3 notifications going live over there.
I saw a comment on my hype post about this stream that we were the tech review Avengers team.
Pretty much the end game going on here. Oh, Steven, that was
Bob's face. Maybe he doesn't like Avengers.
No. That's funny as heck, man. That's awesome.
Oh, okay. All right.
Steven,
is that better?
No.
My microphone got unplugged.
Ooh, don't. I'm gonna mute all of you guys right now just because Steven is very loud and I like to say rip headphone users. A bit lower and that'll be fine.
I don't know.
All right.
Yeah, I think you might be good.
What is back? So professional streamers aren't here, you guys.
Sorry, guys. Microphone got unplugged. So to start again, we've got Brandon, GizmoSlip, Bob of All Trades, Jarrod from Jarrod'sTech, Alex from the Rad Elk. Sorry.
Perfect.
So we're talking about the RTX 3000 against the RTX 2000. Brandon, you did the G17. What were your thoughts?
I thought it was really impressive, like just what Asus has done in the chassis this year. it's just been like taking it to another level thermally speaking compared to last year's model. I saw pretty much reduced temperatures, and largely this is because we're dealing with a cooler running CPU in the mix here, and a lot of these heat pipes are shared too between the GPU and CPU. So, and then they increased the number of heat pipes, they increased the fan output as well. So you're just getting better thermals overall, and they're able to push, the wattage on the GPU higher, and the CPU was about the same, I think, but the GPU another about 15 more watts in the same chassis basically, and the chassis actually got 7% smaller at the same time. So I was really impressed with it overall. And we'll have to see if the same thing will hold true of the other manufacturer stuff. I've just started testing the GS66 Stealth. I've got that guy right here. I'm actually going to do some live benchmarking probably after this stream. Maybe hold that off for tomorrow, but probably today. I'm going to do a few hours of benchmarking. I got everything installed on there. And then I've also got the Aura 17G that I've done a bunch of testing with. And it's been interesting comparing the Intel chassis versus the AMD chassis, which I think we're going to talk about later. So in the top left, we have all of the different topics that we're going to talk about. And I might actually switch that to the lower section so it's not covering everyone as much. There we go.
I think we all have it differently set up.
And maybe I should add a background to this too, so it's easier for people to see this, because I don't want it,
Well, Bob tested the GS66, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
And-
still have it here actually. There's still a lot of things that need to be addressed on it, so I'm holding on to it till we can get those fixed, and then I'll make a video about it. And of course, share all that with Brandon as well. So we've been emailing back and forth.
Yeah, I've had a lot of problems with just like BIOS updates, changing settings, and I don't know, just all sorts of stuff like that. Have you guys had anything similar, or it's just good to go out of the box?
With the GS66?
Or just like, I guess, 3000 in general. Like every laptop I've had has been Tongfang or Clevo, and there's just been like constant changes that, just either slightly improve things, or, I guess it's kind of like a case of 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards every update.
Yeah, especially if they don't launch a control center with that,
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
my Aura 17. Sorry, go ahead, Red.
Yeah, so I didn't get any laptops just yet, but I might be getting something either this month or in March. And I did hear about all the BIOS issues so far. So I've read about that as well, talked about it without even having a laptop, and it's like really sad to hear about it. But once I've seen your live streams, Brandon, for you, like everything seemed to be fine, at least on the Asus laptops which you've tested. And I don't remember, I think it was also Gigabyte laptop which you tested. That seemed to be working quite fine. So maybe it was just with the review samples, because I know with XMG that has been a thing, and they said that on Reddit as well.
So with the Aura 17G, the issue I ran into was if you go into the NVIDIA control panel, it says it's rated to run at 105 watts, but when you actually put it under load, I never saw it maintain 105 watts. It only peaked to 90. So I guess the question is, does dynamic boost work properly right now? Is it meant to go to 105, or is it intended to stay at 90? And I'm not sure, because that's a pretty big jump in TDP from 90 to 105. So.
Yeah, have you tested it with the reduced CPU wattage of around 20?
I only I tested that with a solo GPU only load. So that gave, so the CPU should be very low wattage. Yeah, should be pretty low.
So the figure in the system information there, is that with the dynamic boost power, is it, or is that the base?
I believe the base is 90, and then it goes up to 105 at least. But maybe that's just what NVIDIA puts into all their stuff now with the 15 watt boost, even if it can't do it. But my thought was maybe Odyssey messed up the BIOS or firmware, and they were just going to update it to give it a boost to 105, or maybe there's certain. You know how dynamic boost basically needs lower CPU performance in order to trigger that extra increase in GPU performance. My thought was maybe they just have those settings set incorrectly, or I don't know. We'll have to see. I emailed them. I'm holding off on continuing to review the 17G for right now until I get that wattage issue clarified, whether it's meant to run at 90 or 105.
Now, Peter Parker has just asked, would you recommend the new Asus Strix G17 3070 or the 3080?
That's a tough one. What do you guys think?
I think it's going to depend on, what's the limit of your wallet, really? I haven't tested both with the same power limit, but it's probably going to be the same case with 20 series, right? The more you pay, there's diminishing returns at play. Something like a 3060 is probably going to be a pretty good sweet spot. Then you pay more for a 3070. you might get a bit more. And 3080, the price gap is probably going to start getting a fair bit larger compared to the performance that you're going to get back.
Now, is that 130 watts 3080 in the G17? Is it? Or
Yeah, it is.
it is.
Yeah, they're both 130, 115 to 130 depending on the load.
So,
and the interesting thing about the 3070 versus 3080 conundrum right now is that I've seen a bunch of I haven't got my hands on a 3080 yet in the Strix series, but I saw a bunch of Reddit threads where people posted their time spy scores and other benchmarks. And I think the 3080 was scoring about 11,500, give or take a couple hundred points, depending on the depending on the run. And then the 3070 that I have in the manual with the base overclock was scoring 10,800. So it's only like a 700, 800 point gap there.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if those were running the same exact settings. So probably expecting a little higher than 11,500 on the 3080. So it's hard to say that it's even over 1,000 points gap in between the two chassis. So
how about the Scar versus the Strix then? Scar, I've got a Scar 173080 coming in. Do you expect any difference between those two?
I believe those are the same overall TDP as the G17. I think they have very similar internals.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So
we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see. But so yeah, like what Jarrod said, diminishing return when you go for a 3080 this year for sure, especially if it's not a 150 watt chassis.
But that's also because the 3080 is not really a 3080. That's the whole thing. It's just boosted up like more CUDA cores on a 3070. That's pretty much it. Very same memory. It's like 6,144 CUDA cores versus like 5,188, something like this on the 3070, which is really annoying because it pretty much makes the RTX 3080 mobile a lower TDP RTX 3070 desktop GPU. So that's kind of what you can expect out of it. End of the story, I guess. For it. And like personally, I wouldn't go for a 3080. I would consider the 3070 to be the sweet spot. Or if you really have a lower budget, go for a 3060 Max P because it's going to yield you very similar results.
Oh, it's frozen.
Oh, no, it's back now. Like, we can see you very well. At least I can.
Yeah. It's okay. We're back.
The CUDA core difference between the desktop and the laptops this year is pretty huge, except for the 3060. The 3060 laptop actually has more CUDAs than the desktop version, which was really interesting. So, yeah.
I think that was the most annoying thing which has happened this year with the laptops. The whole difference in name, or like the similarity in naming schemes, but the very huge differences between performance, which I guess we didn't see as much with the RTX 2000 series.
Well, I mean, I've seen a review of the Alienware 17R4 that had a 150 watt 3080, and my 2070 Super in games like Far Cry New Dawn and Shadow of the Tomb Raider were neck and neck. So, of course, it was playing at 1080p. It probably had Optimus to configure with. So that leads us into some of the other discussion topics. And I know you tested this, Brandon, the effects of Optimus. Is it worse on these AMD laptops than it is on the Intel ones?
I think it's more about whether it's optimized. The game's optimized for Intel versus Ryzen than how Optimus affects Ryzen and Intel. But I think one of the main reasons ASUS decided to go for routing through the integrated GPU was because they wanted to utilize FreeSync to increase, adaptive sync, basically, which is basically like the poor man's G-Sync. It works really, really well, but it's like helps keep the price down and provides that feature for consumers at a reasonable price. And I believe that's why they decided not to include the Mux switch. Plus, I was talking to the ASUS marketing people, and they said that basically a lot of people weren't really utilizing the Mux switch very much, so they removed it from their chassis this year for all their laptops, as far as I'm aware. That's what I asked if they had any laptops that had a Mux switch this year, and they said none.
No, that's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's
I know I use it.
Yeah, but that's a problem with most people, unless it's like in your face, just like they put the antivirus software or like whatever crap they put on their laptops. People are not gonna find out about it. And it's the same thing with the TGPs or TDP, whatever you want to call it, on the GPUs right now. They just decided to put it in the control panel, if I'm correct. Right now, you really need to go through a couple of settings at least. But I guess the good thing out of it is that like the whole outcry pretty much led to NVIDIA no longer recommending that brands show the TGP, but much rather they're much obliged right now to show the
Yeah.
TGPs. So
I think that's huge. That is huge, isn't
yeah.
it? That they're finally
Yeah.
going to show it.
yeah, and
Yeah.
we've
Bob,
already
what do you think about all that?
Yeah, I think it's great that they're showing it. I mean, I sent an email to Gigabyte and they got ignored. So, finally, I think NVIDIA's forcing them. I mean, we know ingredients on a tin of soup, don't we? So we should know what is in a laptop.
Yeah, I think dual channel versus single channel should also be disclosed up front
Yes.
all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, because that can definitely impair performance too.
What has been your experience? Because I've seen on ASUS laptops is pretty much 8 or 16 already soldered, and then you can upgrade to more. So is that the case that most laptops have single channel? I haven't really looked much into it myself.
But these ASUS ones like the Zephyrus and the Strix was okay. That had 2 DIMMs, didn't it?
Yeah, the Strix had 2.
The Zephyrus is...
I believe I didn't actually open it up and double check, but I'm pretty confident it did. I can quick check in the settings.
Yeah, it's generally the Zephyrus ones that
line.
only have the single slot. Because apparently it's just so thin that, that's all they can fit. At least that's what they told me.
Too thin.
Bullshit.
Yeah,
I think Bob is the person. I think Bob is the perfect person to talk about it, because if people don't know Bob, like, he does a lot of repasting, disassembling laptops and covering all that. So I think you could talk more about that, Bob.
No, that's right. If you guys get me going, I won't stop talking.
I'm curious.
That single channel stuff is soldered memory, all that's not good.
Well, I think another beef of mine is that, the base models are still probably like 8 gigabytes and single channel, like they've obviously base Nitro 5 and stuff like that. I think they should be banned. Fucking hit them.
So that type of thing is exactly what happens when NVIDIA specifies like the minimum price limits. Like if you remember before 30 series came out, and there was like that table and it had like a 3060 laptop and it was like from $999. Like that's always going to be the bottom of the barrel thing with like a garbage 60 hertz panel, single channel memory, 256 gig drive. Like that's just what they have to do to hit that price point.
Yeah, we got dual channel in that Strix, 2 8 gigs, 32 gig, 3200 megahertz RAM. But I did see a Reddit thread today. I don't know if this is legit. Can't verify, but he said that he came with a Strix SCAR 15 with 16 gigs of single channel memory. He said he put another 16 in for a total of 32, and that bumped him up to dual channel. So I'm not sure. So you might want to make specifically sure on the model you ordered that it comes with single versus dual channel.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I don't remember, like, the last time I bought a laptop was like 5 or 6 years ago, but I'm pretty sure we still have different models across the globe, right? Like you have in Europe, you might have some models which, let's say, come with dual channel, and then the States might not. They might either not be there, or they might just have single channel. Is that still the case? Because I'm still not aware about that.
I'm not sure. I think you gotta take it on a laptop by laptop basis. But it seems like any laptop that's reasonably priced, usually was $1,500, almost always comes with dual channel. But it surprised me that the SCAR 15 supposedly didn't. So that kind of took me further. I was like, are you sure that's right? But he showed a bunch of benchmarks before and after putting single channel to dual channel. It was like a big bump of performance for Time Spy. Like Cyberpunk had like 20 or 30 FPS more.
Oh,
so it's just like
definitely.
Yeah, it's huge difference.
Now we're getting lots of questions about the Legion 5 Pro, and I think that's probably one of the hottest laptops about with the 3070, 125 watt 3070. Somebody's mentioned there. So
is that even available yet?
Not yet.
No.
So March, if I remember correctly. I've done some digging. There's a Swedish website called inet, so inet.se, and they have a lot of laptops right there, and they also show whenever they're going to be available. I've already seen them in Germany as well, quite surprisingly on Amazon, but the listing was hidden. I just used the price tracking tool to find it. So yeah, that should be coming out in March, something like that. And I do also expect it to also sell like hotcakes, just like the Strix from ASUS.
Yeah.
But with regards to the Strix, I had people sending me messages through Discord and Gmail telling me that they have either got their orders canceled or they got them delayed till May. And I think that's another issue with RTX 3000 laptops right now. A lot of them are either getting delayed or not available at the moment. And I've started seeing this in Germany on some websites as well, and on iNet, where they were supposed to come out February 2nd, and now they're like, well, March, you know.
Well, my Zephyrus G15 is going to be shipped on the 9th.
Ooh.
I had to buy it from Best Buy. Yeah, Best Buy.
So,
Sponsored by my wallet.
I just got a comment saying Notebook Check has a list of TDPs for many different laptops, and I just wanted to make a quick response to that because I did look through that list, and I confirmed that several of the listings there were wrong on the Notebook Check list of TDPs. So
Were they?
yeah, at least
Notebook Check
they
wrong. I don't believe it.
I know, right? I was like, what the heck? So I mean, at least I think they were mixing up like the boost clock of what it can go to and what the base is for some of the models. And so it kind of was like, this one's 115. It listed the G17 as 115 instead of 130, like the full boost. And then some of the other ones it listed at the full boost.
I guess it's kind of challenging when you have those two different limits. Like in my own benchmarks, I normally put the power limit after the laptop so you know what it's got, right? But like with this generation, I'm finding that because of like we had dynamic boost in the past. So what I'm doing now is I'm putting like the lower limit and the upper limit, but the way I'm doing the lower limit is I'm actually running a CPU plus GPU stress test at the same time to work out, because dynamic boost obviously doesn't work when there's actually CPU workload going. So I put that as the minimum and then the upper limit as a GPU only. And I say, you know, it's going to run somewhere between here, but we don't really know what, because it depends on the workload. So it's a bit of an unknown. It's kind of annoying, but I guess it's also good because you get, you know, you're getting every last drop of performance, I suppose. But yeah, for purposes of comparing like A versus B, makes things a bit difficult.
Yeah.
I think dynamic boost could also impair performance in some titles if you're not careful, because if it's a CPU bound game and it's boosting the GPU up and knocking the CPU down,
it's supposed to be smart enough to not. But yeah.
Yeah, I've demonstrated that in my video quite easily. Yeah, you know, if you've got like Far Cry New Dawn or something like that, it's I noticed outdoor scenes when it's more draw distance, the CPU just lowers its power, lowers its clock, and then the frame rate just drops. It's quite an issue, you know. And I think Resizable bar. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to see my video on that. But that was a bit of a waste of time at the moment.
Yeah, I saw your video and I was like, all right, I'm not going to bother investigating this.
But you got
I think it may matter which specific laptop you use too in that test, because some laptops, I don't know, we'll have to see. It might vary by motherboard too on how the throughput
some
works.
Don't even have it. Like my XMG Neo 15, which is the Electronics Mech 15 G3 equivalent, that doesn't have it.
Yeah, apparently I was doing some more reading on it. It's like AMD has been using Resizable bar in the last generation between their CPU and GPU. And so the tests in that implied about a 10% performance bump for those, at least when it's working properly. But I think it has to be a very specific title, you know, that like can take advantage of it, because a lot of the games just aren't developed with that technology in mind.
Yeah, that's probably the issue here, because I know people in the comments were testing the desktop cards and they were seeing the same as me. So hopefully, you know, in future that'll help out. I've Whisper mode, I've not tried that, I'm afraid. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, me either.
I think we just go for maximum performance, don't we? No whisper mode.
So is it already enabled? Obviously, I don't have any laptop with an RTX 30 series GPU.
I think you've got to turn it on. But some companies, like I can't remember who it was, but someone, I think it was one of the XMG models. Sorry, no, it was one of the Asus models. They said in one of their lowest performance modes, so like if you set silent in the control panel or whatever, by default it will turn on whisper mode. So some, I guess it depends on the OEM. Some control panels might just do it for you, whereas others you might have to do it yourself through NVIDIA control panel. Might depend.
I think it makes more sense to let the user go for that. At the same time, you also are running the risk of people just getting these laptops and like hearing the fans go to 100% and being like, wow, this is super loud. But also, if you were to just enable quiet mode by default, you might go into the same issue that you have with some power supplies that have zero fan mode. And then people are just sending those back for RMA because, well, the fans are not spinning and stuff like that. It's really annoying what's going on at the moment.
Yeah, and then to be fair, I think the Dynamic Boost does a great job of lowering the CPU temperatures. I mean, the GE66, which normally cools well, but the watts go down. temperatures go down. That is good for that.
All right, I've got a question for you guys. If you guys had to pick Scar 17 or Zephyrus Duo 15, which one would you
Depends
go
if you
for?
need
This is from
two
Doty.
screens.
There you go. That's my
No,
answer.
but for each of you, which would you pick?
There you
Well,
go.
So let's,
There's my answer.
I've
So-
always
Take-
fancied the Zephyrus Duo 15
Yeah.
just for a laugh. I've never tried it. New way could be sending me, but
Yeah, I'd take the Duo just because anytime I use a laptop, I'm using a mouse anyway when I travel. So the touchpad thing is probably like my biggest issue with it. So that wouldn't really matter. And yeah, second screen for video editing, kind of useful.
that worked quite well.
Especially with the new models. They've got actually good
Bumped it
software
up.
now. So like when you open like Photoshop or Premiere, it brings up a control panel and it's got like actually useful shortcuts that you would use.
yeah, it looked pretty cool. When I saw the demo, you can like scroll back and forth in the timeline.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's
And I was
expensive,
thinking
isn't
it'd be
it?
cool. Yeah, it's
Oh,
like
you're buying a
you
laptop
don't-
from
you
Asus.
don't
What do you
sell right now.
expect? Yeah. Bob, what's your
You didn't
pick?
say I had
Like,
to pay for it.
No dual screens for me. Just give me a normal laptop.
Bob is like the utilitarian, you know?
Yeah, I feel like the biggest downside to the Zephyrus is that keyboard placement, just kind of going like at certain situations.
Oh, is that the one where it's shoved forward?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like
Definitely
this.
no. Hard no for me.
Have
I
you,
don't use it
feel
on my
like it-
lap, so as long as you got room to put it back a bit on the desk, I find that it's fine.
have you
Yeah.
seen that there is a laptop prototype called the Aura 7, and it's got 7 screens. Have you seen that one?
Are you sure
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not
I
the...
saw it. I saw it on Twitter yesterday.
I sent him an email to
Ah.
see if I can get a copy of it.
that didn't Razer do a 3-screen version?
Just
Just
me
have like
first.
this?
I'll send it back to them.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, Razer did it CES, and
Like
someone
the
stole
3
it. Remember,
screens.
someone stole it.
Linus. Oh, that's it. Like allegedly, you know.
Yeah, I think for me that's Zephyrus Duo 15 would be so useful for this situation that I'm in right now. So I could see the chat at the same time that I have a full screen chat with like the zoomer. So I like right now I have my
There you
Razer Blade set up to my right here. The other one set up to my left, so I can read chat and talk to you guys. But if I had dual screens, I wouldn't have to have 2 laptops at once. That'd be really cool.
That would be quite handy. Or they got the Lenovo virtual reality goggles that are augmented reality. Where you can have. What do you think of that?
Hey guys,
I'll,
welcome to the stream.
I'll just get my Oculus Quest from up there, you know, and like use that instead.
All right. So now I think we're on to the resolutions. So
Yeah,
somebody
just give me
Stephen,
Stephen,
Sorry?
if so, someone has been asking about the difference between. So, could you ask them about the Strix with a 4800H with a 3070 that I talked about in the comment? 1499 euros versus 1799 euros. Let's just say US dollars. If it has a 5800H, well, because this was a
So
whole
$300 more for the CPU change.
Yeah, but also you have
Everything
to
else is the same.
technically, yeah. But what I'm thinking, like the way I kind of thought about this is the whole 8 PCIe 3 lanes. But that's also on the 5000 series, right? As far as I remember. And I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make if it has an RTX 3070. Like he said, I only thought it would be paired with a 3060. Like at least this was the information I've received. So I don't know how much it's going to impact performance on the
well, I understand
4000
it.
series.
The L3 cache is different. It's double on
That
the
is.
5000 series, and I think it has access to it all at the same time.
Mhm.
Because remember, the 4800H capped out at the 2060, and I remember testing the RP17 2060, which was 110 watts against a 90 watt Helios 300, and it got beat.
That is correct. I've been wanting to make a video on this for months, but it's not popular. So, you know, if you're not trashing Intel and praising AMD, you're not doing well. So I haven't touched it. But the 4800H sucks as a gaming CPU for anything higher than a 1660 Ti. It just can't push it. I
Really?
can prove
So-
this a million times over, but people would have a fecal hemorrhage in the comment section. So
Yeah.
I don't need
Intel-
that kind of smoke right
Okay,
now. But
censor.
5800H, yeah, great. 4800H,
Intel-
not good.
Intel definitely had a lead over the 4800H in terms of gaming. For the 5800H, it's obviously better, but I haven't seen I don't know about you guys, but I don't know if I've seen any like direct comparison with same GPU on Ryzen 5000 versus Intel yet. And yet people are like Dave 2D, for instance, in one of his recent videos, is saying Ryzen 5000 is the best for gaming. But,
Exactly.
like I think it's just an assumption. I personally haven't seen the benchmarks of you guys.
No, not yet.
No.
Yeah, my
It's just
take on
hard
it
to
is
get
if you're
the right laptop.
Yeah, I don't want
Yeah,
to
my-
trash Dave 2D, but he's like, let's say, more of a generalist. Like, let's put it mildly.
Well, I mean, I think ideally you want to test it in the same chassis, don't
Yeah.
you? So I think
Yeah, which is a challenge.
it is, and MSI are redoing theirs. So when they get their 5000 series GE66, I'll test it for sure.
Unfortunately,
I think I'm testing
Cinebench
it
does
next
not
week.
equal frame rate. You know, it just doesn't.
Exactly.
It also doesn't equal faster editing. My 6-core
Yes.
Intel beats the crap out of the 4800H in my software.
Yeah.
Is it better for editing? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it's very software dependent.
Yeah.
And
And
that's just
Intel
a
quick
fact.
video sync can affect your
Quick
you know,
sync
enhancing.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it just depends on your software a lot. And I think for games, it can really depend on the game, right? Like in the test that I've done, it's like some of the Intel chips really crush it in games like Valorant and CS:GO, especially if they don't take advantage of Optimus. That's the thing. Like, there's just a lot of the new Ryzen laptops and the Asus line. That's our primary laptop manufacturer that are putting out, you know, new Ryzen 5000, and they basically went Optimus in every laptop. So you're looking at, it's so hard to compare because you not only do you have to have the same chassis, you also have to make sure that they have the same Optimus setup or the same direct connect, and in order to see the true performance. But I think for sure the 5900HX processor and the Strix G17, like this thing is beating the i9 in the CS:GO benchmark by like a good chunk. You know, and that is of course with a different GPU though, right? So, but in terms, that's a very CPU bound game. So I think that's one of the strongest indicators that the Ryzen 5000 series can perform extremely well in games as long as you're not being bottlenecked by Optimus.
Yeah.
So so ideally we want to see mux switches or, you know, true advanced Optimus where we're getting direct connect to the NVIDIA GPU to get that full performance.
Whatever happened to advanced Optimus? That was on like 2 laptops, and then they did.
I've never had one. I've never had one with it.
Oh, it's awesome.
So I think the reason that never got popular enough is because consumers were never educated enough to create a demand to pay, say, $100 or $200 more to get advanced Optimus in their laptop. Laptops that offered advanced Optimus, they'd be like, they wouldn't understand that they could get more performance in esports titles because of advanced Optimus. And so they would be like, why would I pick this? I think one of the laptops that had it was I know Electronics had a laptop that had it.
Max 15. I've still got it.
I reviewed it.
Max 15. Yeah. So, but I mean, basically, like, you know, how many people are going to go out of their way to get it? Only the really educated consumers, you know. So,
well, to segue back into the mux and then your discussion with Asus, I mean, we got to get big channels to talk about this, because I've seen, not to throw any shade towards any, like you look at Hardware Canucks, they put out beautiful, beautiful content, but I've seen them review Legions 2019, 2020 with a mux switch, and then even talk about it. And it was pretty nice. It actually got a reply from one of them when I commented on it, and they were like, well, most people really don't use it, so we didn't feel the need to talk about it. Okay, that's fine, but like, you're a 1 million subscribed to channel, man. Talk about this so people can get educated and we can get proper products. I'm not trying to throw shade at them. They're fantastic, but I can name 10 channels that do this with 1 million+ subscribers, and it kind of sucks for us little guys, you know.
True.
All of the magazines too, all the online reviewers, they don't even know that Optimus affects performance. It seems like at least a lot of them don't.
Yeah, 2 years ago, they thought single channel was just as good as dual as well. Some even still do. So
very true. Very true. Well, I think also NVIDIA. I mean, if you looked at their live stream thing, they didn't really talk about advanced Optimus that much. It was more, dynamic boost, whisper mode, and all this, wasn't it?
Well, you guys know the reason for that, right? It's because these, NVIDIA is pushing for thinner and lighter laptops. That's one of the main reasons why we like gaming laptops to become so popular. Because you can buy a little 4.5-pound thing that can play your games at max settings and do really, really well. And so Optimus is one of those key features that allows us to do that. But there's just got to be more education so that there can be a demand, so that manufacturers like Asus, who produce these really high performance machines, are motivated to put mux switches or advanced Optimus, or at least give us, maybe a G17 that has Optimus, and then maybe we pay $50 more and we get one with a mux switch, like an upgrade option, basically, to get the full performance for people that care about it.
2020, I was known as the electronics shill. I don't know why, because they offer all that cool stuff we're talking about.
But that happens all the time. Like, no matter as long as you start talking more about a certain product and you're different than the norm, people are gonna think, you're either a shill or I don't know, you only focus on this brand because they're obviously paying you and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's a discussion for another
That's how
time.
it works.
Yeah.
So I've got a thank you for your donation, Julius Ucanis is asking, when will we see you on Odyssey.com or library? Yeah, you know,
Probably
must
never
have-
for me. I mean, I've
Never.
seen other YouTubers that try to
Promotion.
do it, and the community just instantly cuts them down and is like, if
Yep.
you're still using YouTube and
I-
you're not only using these platforms, then we don't
Yeah.
want you. And I'm just like, okay,
So are you talking about Epos Vox, Adam?
that is one example.
Yeah, that was perfect. I saw it last night, and people were pretty much bashing him because he dared auto upload the video that he did for YouTube, talking about YouTube, and like he had like a bajillion messages telling him that that shouldn't be a thing. Either way, yeah, that's a problem with services like this. They're good, but I don't think anything is going to ever come really that close to YouTube. It's just too much of a mammoth at this point. Like, it's really difficult to do.
Yep, basically.
Yeah, well, and YouTube really prioritizes channels that push content within their own platform, and people that push to an external site, they're just like, we're gonna kill the performance on that video or that channel if you do that a lot. So
yeah, but
you just gotta be careful.
YouTube is annoying, though. You must admit. I mean, the way they screwed up on my daughter's
Yeah.
channel.
I knew it.
Shh! They're gonna shut down our live stream. Be
Oh, yeah,
quiet.
YouTube is great.
It's the best.
Love you,
ever.
Susan.
All right, so let's have
Yeah.
a resolution. Stephen Emmett asked about, you're gaming, you got a 4K laptop and you want to game at 1080p. What's it like? Is it too soft? You got much, is it a bit blurry to play on? What do you recommend? In fact, I understand, according to ASUS, Windows has a bug that you get less FPS doing so anyhow. What's your thoughts?
I haven't heard of the bug, but every time I've done it, I thought it looked okay. I only really notice a weirdness if you're doing like 1080p on a 1440p screen or 1440p on 4K, because it doesn't scale down perfectly.
Yeah.
But 4K to 1080p, it's
fine.
I personally haven't really looked at it and thought,
So-
oh no, terrible.
My Razer Blade Pro that I have right here, this sucker is a 4K 120 hertz, and I run it in QHD 1440p 100% of the time. I don't even touch 4K on it because
Nice.
I just like the window scaling is better at QHD.
Yeah.
It looks like it's native res still.
Yep.
It's a 440 nit display and it's 100% Adobe RGB. So it's like just like the trifecta for me of what's great. But the 4K, like you run Cinebench or run Premiere or like a lot of the applications that aren't optimized very well for scaling, you just run into all these little issues with the scaling if you do 4K on a small laptop display. So I just run a QHD and then I can just run it at 100% scaling, and
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
it's great for me.
Yeah, I had the same person ask the very same question, and I was like, yeah, if I had to choose between getting a laptop and between choosing a laptop which has a 4K 120 hertz display and one that has 1080 300, I would go for the 4K, but I would put it at QHD like you guys have said, because it makes the most sense to me. Either way, if you're gonna play at 1080, you're never gonna see 300 FPS unless you're playing CS:GO, Valorant, like any esports titles. So why not just go for Quad HD? Use the GPU a little bit more than the CPU, especially if you're on a Comet Lake CPU. So that's pretty much my reason for it.
Thanks for the donation, Gregan. First time I've ever getting some like super chat things.
Hey.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So next, actually, in terms of 1080p, 1440p, was the bottleneck situation. I mean, Bob said this from the get-go, as did I. As you got to like the 2080 supers and above, we're going to be bottlenecked by 1080p, and we should see more QHDs. And fortunately, we are, which is good. But you think then of the 16 to 10 aspect ratios, like I think Lenovo are going to be having, do you think that's going to be affect gaming much?
Yeah, the Flow X13 also has a 16 by 10. 1080p.
does.
I ordered one of those last night, actually.
You're kidding me.
Well,
I was one of the lucky few that got the window in.
the moolah this
see.
might threw at it.
We'll see.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, he's got one. Oh my god. Oh my god. Don't show me that.
I have been playing games on it at 16 by 10, so I guess I can talk about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it does. I mean, it does look nice. You get the little extra vertical, but at the same time, in order to compare against other things I've tested, I've done all my benchmarks at 16 by 10 because I just don't have 16 by. Sorry, did I say 16 by 10? I did all my testing at 16 by 9
Okay.
because I don't have 16 by 10 data.
I tested all mine at 16 by 10, yeah, because that's what people
it makes sense because that's what people will use. But I wanted to compare, I guess. So that's just something I'll have to know.
Chill.
Do you have the 4K or 1080 panel?
Mine's the 4K one, so it's like 30. It's instead of 2160, it's 2400, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Mine's
I like the
1200.
1080p panel now more. It's brighter.
It's high refresh rate.
120 hertz. Yeah.
Yeah. This one's 60 hertz.
1200.
Yeah, but
and the response time's like 35 milliseconds.
The ghosting on it. The ghosting, Brandon, on the 120 hertz is terrible.
Is it bad? I was trying to find the ghosting, like an example of it, of the response rate, because I was like, maybe this will be a laptop I can actually use, because it looks awesome. Because that eGPU dock could be such a great like I have a desktop over here, and if I just hook that up over here, I could just replace my desktop with that basically, all my keyboard, mouse, and display. But yeah, if the inbuilt laptop display has ghosting, it's not very good for competitive games. I probably would be like a hard pass because I play a lot of esports. I'm an esports gamer kind of person.
I took a photograph of my 120 hertz Clevo against the X13 Flow, and it's night and day. And I contacted ASUS about it, and he says, well, of course, it's a 13-inch panel, which they don't have high refresh rate or response times on it
16 by 10. And 16 by 10. So it's like
16
a double.
by 10. It's hard to get.
It's like developing a whole new resolution technology. Man. Yeah. It's like, that's so sad because I think that laptop is so promising.
No, it's a nice laptop. I mean, I got like 7.5 hours of runtime on it. It's a 1920 by 1200, isn't it? So I got 7.5 hours at 25% brightness. Doesn't use DWM, which is nice. Pen support. Well, this is one strange thing that ASUS have the idea that it shouldn't. People who buy a 2-in-1 don't use pens, which I did a poll and that was totally wrong.
Didn't it come with it? Mine comes with it in the order.
It comes with it, but but not all markets though. No, I think Best Buy said that
Flow 13,
the X13 Flow. So
mine didn't have a pen.
Yeah, they're not bundling it everywhere. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, mine at $2,800 came with a pen and a carry case with it too.
Mine don't no carry case. Mine didn't come with a battery. It uses like a watch battery.
Imagine having that.
No fucking battery. But anyway, we'll digress.
I do want to add, you are talking about 16 by 10. And as somebody who doesn't have a desktop, I mean, I do the whole laptop thing. I really could use that extra vertical real estate as I edit on Adobe, and just having the extra two bars of vertical real estate. I'm telling you, like a few seconds here, a few seconds there on improving my efficiency on a video edit that might take me 12 to 18 hours. Maybe that'll save me an hour and a half. Man, time is time for me. That's a big deal. So I would love that aspect ratio and absolutely prefer it. If Dell made a good XPS, I would have snagged one of those.
Yeah.
I hope we get more 16 by 10 resolution laptops, but
yeah, that was like when I was
quick response panels.
Yeah, when I was covering news regarding the leaks and everything, rumors, whatnot, before the launch of these laptops, like everyone in the comments was like, "Do you think they're gonna do 16 by 10 monitors? 16 by 10 screens." And I was like, "Yeah, hopefully, I guess." And then like all of these laptops started popping out, and now viewers seem to be really happy about that. But I don't know how it's going to work out for gaming. Yeah.
So one question I have for you guys: if you're buying a 15-inch or a 17-inch, would you pick 1080p, like 300 hertz, or 360, let's say? Like, let's just talk maximum possible specs right now. 360, full HD, QHD 165, 4K 120. Which display would you guys pick, assuming they're all the same nits, brightness, and color gamut?
4K 120.
What HD?
Quad HD.
Yeah, 4K doesn't make
1080p.
1080p. You need that screen real estate, Bob.
Yeah, because the pixel density is just as good as like a 4K 55-inch television, and based on how far you sit away from it, I'm not going to be able to notice it that much at my age with my eyes, even though they're still decent. But still, the pixel density, man, just rules the roost for me. So I think 15-inch, 1080p, 17-inch, I can start to see pixels a little bit if I'm this close to it. But since I'm not, it's not really that bad.
Yeah.
But I also have
Yes.
two 4K OLEDs here. You know what I mean? So it's not like I'm only
Yeah.
a 1080p user. I have
Mhm.
I have used this stuff. You know, I bought Steven's 13-inch Alienware Quad HD OLED. That was a gorgeous display.
That was beautiful.
But I'm still 1080p for this resolution, especially when life gets back to normal and I'm back to portability and I'm carrying my Arrow with me everywhere. I need that battery life as well. And just overall, that suits me. But by no means am I trying to just cram that down your neck for oh, that's what you need to buy because that's what Bob likes. But that's just where I'm at on that. Brandon, you asked personally, and I'm telling you.
Yeah. No, that's good. I think for me, the big difference is like the clarity on the text. When you get to QHD at a 17-inch display, it becomes really apparent when you go from 1080p to QHD. But
I've noticed a lot of people with 15-inch displays will complain about that at 1080p, but then their operating system scaling is set to 125%. It will be blurry there. And I've told, I could tell you 1,000 times I've seen that comment.
but
I'm
a
like,
lot of them,
set it to 100% and tell me what you think. And they're like, oh my God, it's crisp. Like, I'm not saying that's the solution, but it is a solution.
Yeah. I had a friend do that. Like, she had it on 125, and I was like, yeah, everything looks really blurry. And I was like, well, set it to 100, you're gonna see a difference. But for me, going with a Quad HD panel is just like, yeah, it could make sense. It's just like for whenever you're watching a movie or anything else, and at my age compared to Bob's age, like, I think I could see it. But at the same time, I'm a user of a 34-inch monitor, which is 2560 by 1080. So what am I talking about? I don't mind 1080p, which is like 1080p ultra wide, and other people would be just like,
lower than
it's like
mine.
it's 93 or something. Like, it's like very low, but I don't mind it. I also sit at like a very comfortable distance away from my monitor, and I don't have any issues with it. Freaking love it.
Are there any high refresh rate OLED panels in the works for laptops?
Oh, for laptops,
90 hertz OLED 13-inch, I think.
only 13-inch.
That's what I heard, at
Wasn't
least.
Lenovo doing anything?
Yeah, I
with
think
OLED?
Lenovo had some 15-inch ones
nice.
at CES, but I can't recall the exact specs. I just remember seeing them and thinking, oh, cool, finally.
Yeah, we need, where are the 120 hertz? Like, we got these on the smartphones for a couple of years now, 120 hertz OLED. So it's like, now
Yeah,
we know.
exactly.
Yeah, but not for Quad HD as much. Like, now they're starting to trickle into Samsung phones and whatnot, because you were still limited at Full HD 120, as far as I'm aware.
The problem I have with OLED is the ones that use PWM. The way my measurement tools work for measuring response time, I can't test response time with PWM because the signal is just like, it just doesn't work out.
That's interesting.
So that sucks. There's probably a way of doing it, but the way I currently do it, I can't do it right now.
That sucks.
Now, before we move on to the next topic, I wanted to just mention that I have links in the description down below to each of these guys' channels. And so for any of you guys looking for more tech content to watch, feel free to go ahead and hop over to their channels and hit that subscribe button.
I've done the same, by the way.
But yeah, so feel free to hop over there and get them to subscribe and everything.
Yeah, I have a full
thank
list
you.
of reviews, so if everyone wants to watch any kind of reviews, not only from Steven, Bob, Jarrod, and Brandon, like if you want to watch anything related to Ryzen 5000 and RTX 3000, you're going to find a list of that. And you should probably watch a lot of reviews before buying laptops, especially this generation, because it's really confusing. Yeah. I think we could, like, for anyone who is still unaware of how all those things work, I think Jarrod takes like an approach of like talking about everything laptops and doing comparisons. Bob just does like, if you want to learn about disassembling laptops and going into the nitty-gritty details, he's the man to go to. Steven, he's approaching all kinds of different things and trying to be funny at the same time. And I would say that the same is with Brandon, but he's also
What do you
doing
mean trying?
Try.
well. We had those
Failure.
discussions before, yeah. And Brandon, he's the man with the live stream. So if you want to see raw benchmarks of the new laptops, there you go. You got to go there. For me, if you are somehow not or haven't seen my channel, I mostly cover news and leaks and rumors. That's what I mostly do. But I started talking about laptops quite a lot since before CES and during CES. So that'll be pretty much an introduction to each of our guys' content.
All right. So, what do you guys think of RDNA 2? Are we ready to move on, Stephen? What do you
Yes,
what do you
I'd
think,
say
Stephen?
Can I just
All
say they took like 20 seconds to talk about it, so we're probably going to be talking about RDNA 2 more than AMD has done, because all of they've done during CS was like give themselves a pat on the back.
Well, I'm really excited about it because, I mean, we saw how their smart access memory works on the desktop line. So, I mean, this would really, give NVIDIA a push to get it to work on their laptops. I expect it would work just as well here on the laptops with RDNA 2.
Is that the same name they have for Resizable bar, Smart Access Memory?
Yeah, Sam.
I thought that was the same name, same
I thought it was
technology,
the same
basically.
thing. So if we're not seeing much difference at the moment with NVIDIA and Intel, then I wouldn't expect to see that much difference with an AMD solution. But
it's on the
Yes.
desktop, it's supposed to work, isn't it? As you say, 10 to 15%.
I
But
think it depends on the title.
Yes, if you
Yeah.
are going
Yeah.
for Ubisoft titles or very CPU-bound titles, but mostly Ubisoft, because you're going to see that with Valhalla, Dirt 5, all of those games, which they really love to shove into people's faces during their
Yeah.
presentations, for obvious reasons. You're going to see big differences even against like the 3080. You're going to see something like a 6800. The normal version outperforming that in some cases. So yeah, it really depends. Like at which type of benchmarks you're looking, you really need to pay attention as a consumer whenever you're looking at those things.
I'd like to just
When are they
hear
coming?
if you guys are willing to share. What do you guys think might happen? You're completely off the hook for if you're wrong. Do you think the highest performing RDNA 2 GPU will be more powerful or less powerful than the 3080? Let's say in the most powerful chassis, I think it's about 155 watts on the GE76. What do you think? Let's just go. Stephen, Jarrod, Bob. Let's just go in order.
I would say it's probably going to be less powerful than the 3080. I would say. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Bob?
Less powerful.
Okay. What do you think, Jarrod?
Probably less, but it's hard to say because like on the desktop side, they seem a little better, if not similar. But yeah, I guess it depends how much they need to cut it down. Because like obviously NVIDIA, there's that mismatch between laptop and desktop this generation. So I suppose to some degree, it depends how much difference there is on the laptop side with RDNA 2.
What do you think,
So thanks, Brit Allen, for the super chat in the first place. No, I really don't think that AMD is going to have any RDNA 2 cards on mobile that are going to outperform the RTX 3080 mobile. Maybe at best the RTX 3070, and that's just based on the earlier leaks and rumors that I've seen and covered, seeing that they're going to be launching up to a 6600M. So just going off of the naming scheme and whatnot, I don't think they're going to be able to outperform any of their cards.
So the current leaks you're saying only imply they're going to go for a mid-range GPU, not the ultra high-end market. Yeah, I think the biggest thing AMD is going to try to do is price cut in that mid-range. So like you might be able to, it might be competitive with like the 3070 or 3060, but they might charge $100 to $200 less. This kind of for a very similar level of performance would kind of be my guess.
But I think one issue is like the AMD Smart Shift. I don't think that worked too well on the Dell G5 Special Edition. And from what I hear from some of my Discord people is that
I think Bob has something to say.
The Bravo and the Alpha were better.
The Bravo. Did anyone
Steven's dead on. Didn't work out too well at all.
Yeah. Did anyone test the MSI Bravo?
Well, I've got the Alpha. One. I do have the Alpha, but to test.
I bought the Bravo like a fool.
Did you?
Nice.
So what was your experience with the Bravo? Because my only experience with it is that I've seen the reviews from Andrew from Tech Team GB, and obviously he sent it to Stephen from Gamers
That's
Nexus.
why I bought it.
Oh, okay, nice.
That video, that whole thing was the only reason I bought it. I was like, wow, I need to check this out myself and see if it's actually that bad.
Fair point.
So it's pretty bad. There's actually something that I don't know how to follow up with that I've only realized in the last few days that I didn't include in the review. So I guess I could just mention that briefly now. When you open the bottom of the laptop, the way that the bottom panel is connected, when you pull it off, the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack kind of gets stuck around the plastic cutout. And when you pull off the bottom panel, it starts taking off some of the motherboard. And what happens is so the Wi-Fi card is like, the Wi-Fi card is like right in that middle point, and it starts like the tension starts pulling the Wi-Fi card out of its slot as you pull the panel off.
Yeah.
And by the time I had the panel off, I had to unscrew the Wi-Fi card and put it back in. So That's the Bravo 15.
Wow. Yay, 2010. Cool.
A big thank you to Junkin23. Thanks for the donation.
So we should probably thank our donors, like if we can, I guess at the end.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like I just got a donation, but I got 2 of them actually. But I don't want to like interrupt the stream, you know, for
right.
it's just so that way we can keep it going, you know, and keep the topics rolling. So
Sorry.
no, you're good. You're good. No, it's the first time we're doing this, so we got to work out the kinks, right?
It's the first time I got a donation.
Oh, nice. Well, that's always nice, right?
That's gonna push more people to do it now.
Yeah, I'm
right, sorry,
really curious. I hope AMD surprises us with some higher performance laptop GPUs, trying to push the competition, but we'll see. We'll see. I think they definitely will at least have moderate performance this year. But I think the bigger thing maybe is that AMD might prioritize availability for their own GPUs with their own CPUs. I don't know. Just we'll see.
That's a good point. Good point.
Well,
So
I never saw
might...
an Intel CPU plus AMD GPU laptop previously, apart from the the Alienware one that had the 5700M with like the Intel desktop. That was it.
There's another layer to this, if you don't mind. I'd like to add with this AMD GPU inside of laptops. And while this is obviously coming from my mouth, I do have sources that clearly concurred with everything I'm about to say, who are those that are responsible for making some of these laptops. It's no surprise, and if it is to you now, then congratulations. It won't be after I say this. AMD GPU, the whole drivers, all of that stuff, it's just not quite as efficient and as consistently solid as NVIDIA. And because of that, if you were to build a desktop, it doesn't matter, right? If you're not happy with the AMD GPU, you take it back to the store and you put in something else. But when you make a laptop, it's an all-in-one solution. So the company is selling you a complete package ready to go. And it really sucks when you return that package. And what a lot of these companies are afraid of doing is sticking in something inside of these laptops that may dictate like a higher return rate. Okay. And that is what's keeping a lot of these companies from pumping the brakes on putting the 4800H in the system that you saw last year. Same with what will become, let's say, RDNA 2 with 6800 series or whatever inside of laptops. That same thing is going to happen. Dell will do it. They got deep pockets just like they did before. A few other companies don't expect to see it from like, Clevo or Tongfang or many other ones out there, at least for a while. So they're going to wait it out because,
I think it'll depend
pretty
a lot.
reliable driver wise.
Okay, I think it'll depend a lot on how well it's received, right? The first ones are received.
Sure.
It's kind of like testing the water. Same with these QHD displays. Like if these QHD displays don't sell as well as 1080p, they'll be like, well, no one really wants it, so we're gonna backtrack on listing them. But there's clearly a lot of demand for that.
Sure,
could be a possibility.
Yeah.
Sorry.
In fact, I was going to ask you, Alex. Because one topic we've got is your undervolting. You in one of your last videos, you mentioned some new RYZEN method to undervolt things.
Oh yeah, that was that was for desktop CPUs. Which I think you're probably referring to RYZEN clock tuner for RYZEN from
That's right.
From Yuri. Yeah, that's a really cool thing. I think he's working. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on this. I'm pretty sure though that he's also working on the Ryzen 5000 mobile version too, so that it would also work on that. I don't think it also does undervolting. I can't remember exactly, but it's good for overclocking and also tweaking memory settings and whatnot. So definitely something that people should check out. So if you're gonna look up clock tuner for Ryzen, it's now 2.0. So that's from Yuri Billy. I don't remember exactly his full name, but
so
yeah,
is it supposed to be
guy.
compatible with the 5900HX?
Yes. Oh no, no, because that's a mobile. So I'm not sure.
So not for mobile yet. Okay, yeah, because the Ryzen Master and Ryzen Controller, neither of those were compatible with the Strix that in my testing.
That's the thing.
So
that's why I don't think they're compatible with mobile. But I did see him talking, I think like 2 months ago when he was still working on the tool, right? And he said that he really likes what AMD has done on mobile, and he might be working on this. So maybe we're gonna see a version of it on mobile as well. But back to a little bit to RDNA 2, I kind of thought of it in the sense that, because if you remember from CES, AMD focused on the 5000U series as well, and I think that's kind of when they also mentioned RDNA 2, and that's why I think they're going to pair them together, just because it's going to make for a really good thin and light portable laptop, all of that good stuff.
Mm.
So that's why I have this kind of thought that they would focus on entry and mid range, but maybe we're gonna be I don't know, surprised by it.
Well,
We'll see.
Well, I would like to bounce back to the undervolting in this only in the
Yeah.
sense because I like how my GE66 having advanced BIOS. So I imagine when they release an AMD one, I could go into the advanced BIOS and do an undervolting then. Now, don't you think that should be an option available to everybody?
Yeah. I really like how Intel handles it. I have Intel Extreme Utility Tool, or like whatever they call it, and it's really nice because so you can basically go inside of the app, and if you know what settings to tweak, Jarrod, sorry, if you know which settings to tweak,
Everyone wants to know how many circles you can do, Jarrod, in one
yeah.
push. I'm just kidding. I've had that question come up in my chat more than once.
We'll find out at some point.
Yeah. Either way,
Sorry, continue on.
you can go into the app and then set your CPU to be minus, I don't know, 25 millivolts, 50, 75, and see how stable it gets. You can benchmark it right into the app, and I find that to be perfect. I've already done this on my Intel CPU, and the same goes for the RTX GPUs in general, or like any GPU in general if you use MSI Afterburner. So I really recommend that people at least give it a shot. And there are plenty of videos online, even from WCCF Tech, or Optimum Tech, who's another Australian creator, really good. I recommend him if you are interested in mini ITX builds and all of that good stuff. So that would be my thoughts on it.
Something I want to talk about with just like this whole performance tuning thing. So AMD obviously have Ryzen 5000 HX series, right? Which is meant to be like unclocked and overclockable. So I have a Clever unit here at the moment, which has the 5900 HX, but the Clever software and the BIOS don't give me any way at all of actually modifying it. So it's kind of like, what's the point of this outside of slightly higher boost clocks than a 5800H? So it seems it seems quite backwards that you don't have the option of doing anything. Now, I don't know if they're going to improve that or add it in a future update or anything, but compared to the Tongfang laptops that have like very granular power level controls in the control center, it just seems like, Clever versus Tongfang. The Clever machine just looks like ancient in comparison.
We need Prima to write a BIOS for them, don't we?
Perhaps something I could add to undervolting and overclocking in general. Don't think that if you are going to somehow undervolt your laptop, it's magically going to work out for you. It's, you still need to benchmark it to see if it's stable, because both your CPU and your GPU, believe it or not, needs a certain voltage to work in different games or in different applications, or even on desktop, because you might start getting blue screens or any other problems you might have with your laptop.
So Jarrod, going back to the 5900 HX, in the Strix that I have, in the software, you can, I believe, set the power limit, but why would you reduce the power limit below what they set at stock? That's like, so you can't increase
so you
it
can raise
stock.
it later.
Yeah, so you can overclock it after you underclock it.
You could do that. You could do that technically with the GPU. You can undervolt it and overclock it.
Well, we're just talking about this. We're talking about the CPU.
Oh,
yeah, CPU here.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's the thing is like it definitely. I think we were led to believe that we would have direct control over the clock speed. The goal clock speeds and the target TDPs for the long and the short power limits. And we just can't, we can't increase those.
What AMD told me was that they might allow it with software like Ryzen Controller, but basically what they've done is they've just, like the options are there, but it's up to the OEM to have software to interact with like Ryzen Master SDK to actually make that happen. So like ASUS or MSI or whatever could have these options through their control panel software or whatever. It just depends what they want to provide, what they want to develop, what options they want to leave to the BIOS. But yeah, this Clever one, it's just got none of it at the moment.
It is a shame. It is, isn't it?
I see the next topic is Ryzen versus Intel, but now that we're talking about undervolting, before the stream we're actually talking about something which is, I don't know, really unfortunate, which has happened, but it kind of made me think about it, because undervolting is still a good option if you want to start mining, and this is what we have started seeing now with the RTX 3000 series of laptops, sadly, because I don't think most of us want to be doing that, or if you're thinking about how this might impact availability, Yeah.
Yeah. I did a video on that about a month ago. It's bound to happen, isn't it? I mean, the desktop GPUs
It's
aren't
happening in
available.
China right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I talked about it in a video today, and in China they've already started. Fortunately, what I can say, they're not laptops from Asus, MSI, and all the big laptop manufacturers. They're only laptops from some Chinese ODM. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
cheaper.
Yeah, I think
but-
it's inevitable. It's going to come down to laptops.
yeah. But Jarrod, you said like, yeah, obviously they're cheaper, but at the same time, they're still using the very same chips, right? They're still using that
Yeah,
GPU
but I think that
die,
company would
same
be
silicon.
allocated. They would be allocated however many CPUs and GPUs
Okay, so it
by
works like that.
AMD and Intel. So
Mm.
I don't know if it would really matter too much, because like the way XMG were framing it in their Reddit post, where they said there were going to be availability issues, you know, they said they're getting like Tongfang's getting X amount of CPUs and GPUs. Then your bigger companies like MSI, they'll probably get, you know, some higher amount. So if it's just like if the miners are only using these cheaper laptops, then I think it would depend on how many this company, like how many chips this company got.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Well, my friend used his 1650 for 24 hours running through Bitcoin, and he made like a penny. Made a penny.
Yeah, but that's
Sounds
because
worth
he mined Bitcoin. That's why, and not Ethereum, which I think everyone is mining at the moment. At least with the basic research that I've done. Yeah, I know with the whole allocation, I wasn't sure about it. I mentioned this in the video that I'm not sure, but thanks for clarifying that for me, Jarrod. It's also because yeah, you have these smaller companies getting access to these CPUs and GPUs, but at the same time, if the price of these cryptocurrencies are going to go up, then I think it's going to start making sense buying some more expensive laptops as well, depending on how the ROI looks like.
I think the thing is, I don't think laptops will ever be the primary target for miners, just because the TDPs on laptops are so much lower and so much less cost efficiency compared to buying a desktop parts to do the same thing. So like, I think there may be a little bit of that. Will we have the desktop shortage, you know, but we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah.
So I've got a comment here that I think is an interesting one. Yosef says, he's rating the 3000 series GPUs in order, and I'm curious if you guys agree. Okay, let's see, what do you guys think? So the weakest to strongest, and then let me know if you guys agree or disagree. I'm going to go through these slowly so we can go through them. 3060 Max Q, weakest. Then 3070 Max Q, second weakest.
Yeah.
3060 Max P, third weakest. 3080 Max Q, fourth. 3070 Max P, fifth. 3080 Max P. Is that in general what you guys are seeing as a rough outline?
Max Q, so that's all wrong.
In general. No.
Yeah.
All right, but just in terms of TDP ranges, you know, the rough TDP ranges.
I think it's going to be close.
Sounds about probably right.
Yeah. Probably.
Sounds about right. Yeah. I in my mind, I think the only thing that might skew those things in different directions is in some games, right?
Yeah.
Like if a 3060
Dynamic boost.
Max Q or 3070 Max Q, maybe if you're playing Cyberpunk, you know, or you're using DLSS and RTX, that's where like a 3080 might have a more advantage, even if it's a Max Q GPU. I don't know. That's where I want to do more testing before I say definitively this is the correct order or not. So
Bob's smiling during this.
Are we back?
Yeah.
Yeah. I apologize. I'm using the new satellite in the space for the internet because it's $4,000.
Did Elon Musk put that? Did Elon Musk put that on your house directly?
Yeah. It did. Yeah. It sucks.
And secretly his friend was
sucks.
And his friend was secretly mining Dogecoin because Elon Musk told him to, and that's why he made 1 penny, because it's so low. So, there you go.
Anyway,
Chill.
I think you're right there. Let's touch on liquid metal, because all the Asus have got them on the ROG laptops now, and you've tested the X13 here, and actually that runs pretty well. It even went on manual mode, crank it all the way up. It's not too bad, is it? So that's a small chassis, so I think it's a good move. What do you think, Brandon, on your...
I think we're getting great temperatures, you know, out of this. And it's, I think the last generation I tested also had liquid metal, I believe, from 2020, but it was an Intel based chassis, right? So, and so you got to keep that in mind that we're looking at liquid metal last year and this year, but it just depends on which model you're buying. And this is the first time I believe we've seen it with an AMD CPU on a laptop. So overall, I'm glad we're moving this way. I'm just curious what you guys think about liquid metal. How long do you think it'll be last, before you see temperature degradation? Because I know a lot of
I want
desktops.
to hear Bob talk
Yeah,
about this because I
same.
think he has the most experience, and it's a question I get all the time. And as someone that doesn't really have that much experience, I don't know what the answer is. So these companies like Asus applying liquid metal at the factory, like what's that going to look like in terms of maintenance, like a year or two from now?
Yep.
Oh God, I got to be very careful how I answer this because I know how to do it right, and I know how everyone's doing it.
No, just do it your way.
And the companies that do it right, I haven't signed anything that says I can't talk about it, but I'm also not a prick. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to break that friendship. So there is a process that you have to do to make it last longer than your laptop. And it's not just sanding or putting liquid metal on the die and the copper plate and sandwiching them together. You're close, you're getting there. You have to do those things, but there's something else that has to be done that like Z-Tech has figured out with their engineers like Mr. Fox and stuff like that. And they can get this to last for a very, very long time. I have seen, and many of you probably have as well, like what Asus is doing in their factory for ApplyNet. It's a beautiful job, but what I need to know if they're doing another step, and they're not going to show that in like their minute-long video because it's not a fun process to watch. However, I could take one of those apart and find out. It's once I see the application, I will know if they did this certain process.
Has it got anything to do with like a nickel coating or something like that?
No, but
So
if you were to keep asking me, I would
time,
still
right?
have to continue to say no anyway, because I don't want people like Donald and them to get upset because I would spill the beans.
Yeah,
But there is a process that has to be done. And here's the thing. Eventually, you could buy one of their machines, take it apart, throw the pictures on Reddit, and then somebody's going to get on there and be like, it looks like they did this. And then the cat's out of the bag, right? It's only a matter of time. I just don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean?
So how long do you think the Asus application, say in the Strix G17, will last? Like before it really needs to be repasted, where you're noticing maybe a 5-degree difference in temps on average?
If it's done right, never. If it's done how a lot of people would do it, maybe 3 years, which is still not bad. And it's
Okay.
can't depend on some ambient temperature and temperature fluctuations as well. But yeah,
I saw someone comment on I think a live stream saying that you can just send it into Asus to get it repasted. I'm not sure if that's actually accurate or not. Like send it into the service center and they can repaste it after a few years if you want that. So if you didn't want to handle the liquid metal repasting, if you're not familiar with it.
I kind of, now that we're talking about this, I'm literally going to write this down. I'm going to pick up one of their laptops and I'm going to find out. I'm going to let you know if a thumbs up is good on that. I really want to tell you guys how this is done, but I don't want people to get really upset with me. Like I like that these individuals trust me with this kind of information. Yeah. So it's also why I don't feature liquid metal content on my channel anymore. It's 2 reasons why. 1 is that, and 2 is I got equal parts hate and love for it. Because they're like, it's not realistic. I'm not going to do that. I'm like, you know what? You're probably right. You're probably not going to do that. So why should I keep featuring it on the channel? So, yeah.
I always ask HID Evolution to send G-Lid Extreme laptops now rather than liquid metals.
Yeah. That's we've talked about that for years. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think you, Bob, should worry less about what people necessarily want to see. I mean, obviously that pays the bills, but at the same time, I would be a person who would like watch everything that you would post. I see you, like, you should know this from last week when I told you pretty much like Jay's 2 cents, so I would watch that.
Well, no, I appreciate that. Yeah. But, I'm also over time trying to slim the videos down and try to appease the masses. You know what I mean? Otherwise I'm going to be just stuck in the mud here forever on the channel. So
I know what you mean. Right. I think we've covered everything. Should we just go through some of the questions that people have been asking?
Heck yeah.
We've had loads of questions.
Yeah.
I've gotten lots of questions. Keep going. You want to do one, Steven, and then I'll do one.
Yeah, I'll wait for your guys' questions. Mine are like pretty high up, so I'm not gonna pick check everything. I
Yeah.
think. Okay.
Jumping King's asking, what are your expectations for the new Lenovo Legion series compared to what Asus have released this year? Well, I think I'm looking forward to them. I really am. Yeah. I mean, the new QHD 1610 panels, I'm hoping, there'll be some good cooling there. I think Asus knocked it out the park at CES without a doubt. But I think, Lenovo have got a good following, haven't they?
Yeah, I guess based on what has happened with Lenovo and HP laptops, and by the way, these laptops from HP, Jarrod, did you get an answer from them, an official one?
About HP stuff.
Oh, yeah, the Omen 15 with the RTX 30.
They basically just said later, nothing really specific.
That's funny because
That
you can
was for
find.
Yeah, I think they said June.
That's for the RYZEN model.
They said June time for me. I think it was from memory.
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
June. You can already find it on Enet on the Swedish website, and I think it was listed for June. And I find that hilarious because, like, you're not getting the information, but the retailers are getting it. They're already making it available.
Yeah,
So
they want to kind of leak and be like, hey, we're gonna make one too, so don't buy that Asus that's looking real delicious right now. They want to get the foot in the door, So yeah, I think the Lenovo Legion has potential to be really competitive with Asus, especially when the price to performance and like functionality for like what you're paying. Basically, I think we'll see. I've actually not had my hands on a Lenovo gaming laptop at all yet. I'm trying to get my hands on them, but
it was depending on the price difference. Like here in Australia, Lenovo is for some reason one of the cheapest brands, and like I actually personally own like 7 or 8 Lenovo gaming laptops. And like last year or the year before, I used to get called Lenovo shill all the time, but it's just because it's the cheapest one here. So
yeah, and he offers some
sounds like you've got a
codes.
problem there, Jarrod. You gotta fix your benchmarking addiction.
Yeah, they're competitively priced. They have military discounts, student discounts, doctors, nurses discounts, don't they?
check the community post for some Discord from some coupons for Lenovo laptops. Yeah,
well, they do.
Got some good ones over there. Also, Steven has some, but definitely check the community post. You might find some laptops at like even $600 off. I don't know, maybe.
So, how about you, Brandon? What questions you got there?
Oh, let me see if I can find one. What laptop do you guys recommend if you had to pick one for $1,500 or less? Like, just go. Let's just kind of give you guys a chance. Go ahead.
Strix, I think the Strix G15 is under that mark, right?
It's 1400 for the 3060. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be a good option because it's still Max P, so it's okay-ish.
Are both memory DIMMs accessible on that?
It is on the 17-inch model. I don't know about the 15.
Okay.
15 probably is the last gen.
I think it
was.
is.
I can't imagine it would change.
Good enough. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, I concur with you there. I mean, I've got the G15 coming in, but it's the 3070 Max Q, and that's like 1800, so it's a little bit pricey. But I think for me, I do like the Scar 17. I think that's, of course, that's the one I'm getting is about $1,800, but I think it might have a cheaper model. I like that one.
Yeah, I think the other one that's really competitive, and this is only this is like a guy question mark. So I haven't got it in hand, but you got the Asus Tough Dash. I think it's $1,449, so it's $50 more than the G15, and that has the 3070 Max Q, right? So that's one of those question marks. Like, is the 3060 Max P going to really outperform the 3070 Max Q? And then also, do you need CPU performance? Because the Strix G17 or G15 has that.
I just don't see the point
RYZEN.
of that 4-core CPU, not in 2021. I mean, it's like, what's the point? I'd rather have a 5900 HS.
Yeah, well, I think the other thing is that the Tough Dash 15 is like really thin and really light. I think it like weighs 4.1 or 4.2 pounds or something. So it's kind of like the Zephyrus G14 from last year. So if you just need a pure gamer, something that has extreme battery life, very portable, you're going to sacrifice a lot of performance, obviously, in the CPU side for your multi-rendering if you need to like edit videos and stuff like that. So I wouldn't recommend it for anyone that's in that camp. But I feel like that one might be a great pure gamer only type of a purchase because you get the 3070 for only $50 more.
All right.
Isn't the multi-core performance of that 11375H? Hopefully I said that right. Like as good as a 9750H though, or at least close to that. I mean, that's been my daily CPU for years.
It's a bit slower, I
Um,
think,
It's
than
slower.
multi-core.
Is it a little bit
Yeah.
slower?
Yeah,
Hang on.
yeah, it is.
What's
I
that?
can, I can check some
1099
benchmarks.
with the 3060 for that dash at Best Buy.
Yeah, 1099 for a 3060 max Q and 1449 for a 3070 max Q. And so you're talking about like a lot of performance for such a low price and such a portable form factor. But I think that I love the lights and LEDs on the Strix series. So like,
Yeah.
you know, and
I
you're
know.
probably going to get
You're a real
maybe even a
gamer.
little more performance, right? Yeah, if you got the Strix G15. So I think if I had to pick one for me, I would definitely pick the Strix G15 for 1400 over the Tough Dash. But you know, maybe you can't even get that one in stock, you know, because that one's just sold out like crazy. So if you need to get a laptop now, that's the other thing. Like maybe buying Intel's not such a bad idea if you're just
It's
a pure
definitely not.
gamer, you know.
It's not
Yeah.
only just for gaming. Like in general, I think they get super like a lot of flack, basically because of what's happening on the desktop side of things. But just watch Jarrod's video that he has done on 10th and 11th gen. You're gonna find out that they're not only good for gaming. It really depends on your use case. Yeah.
Bob, I can answer your question. I
Do
just looked up so I've got my Cinebench results here. So I've got the 1165 G7 4-core. So that's the 28 watt TDP. So I guess the one in the dash will be a bit higher, hopefully, assuming it actually hits its 35
35
watts.
or something. Yeah.
So
Well,
the
the one in
multi-core,
the dash I think can push to 70 watts. I think consistent or 60
yeah,
watts.
it can actually go higher in CPU workloads. I forgot about that. So that's a good point.
Yeah.
So the best result I have for the 4-core in Cinebench R23 is just under 6,000 in multi-core, and I've got like 6-core CPUs ranging from 5,500 to 6,000. So for 4 cores, it can kind of do similar to like 6 cores from a generation or two ago.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think for a pure gamer perspective, like if you use an external GPU with that Intel Tough Dash, I think that's where you remove that Optimus bottleneck. I don't know if there's any display outs on that has a direct connect, but if you're like a CS:GO esports player, you might be able to get quite a bit more performance if that Optimus is really bottlenecking the CPU performance in CPU-bound games. So that's where I haven't seen a review yet of the Tough Dash F15 where they test Optimus, bypassed to see the full
hardware
performance.
Canucks not mentioned it at all.
I think they touched
I
on
actually
it.
emailed them about it, and they did not. They couldn't figure out why the performance was dropped. So I emailed them, and they said they're going to retest it and release a new video. I did not check if they released a new video. They may have already released.
I don't think they have yet. They messaged me asking if I had that model because they said they had some performance issues, but I said I didn't have it, so I couldn't really comment.
Yeah, I hit them up with an email because I was really curious about the performance of that one. So I was like trying to find good reviews. And I just couldn't find anyone that tested the Optimus bypass on it. So because that could be because I want to know the true performance of that Intel Tiger Lake to see what kind of gaming chops if we don't have Optimus in the way.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
Yeah.
That was still a
point.
very thorough review that they did. I think it was like 15-20 minutes that Eber hosted from Hardware Canucks. Found that to be still pretty solid compared to the other ones that were live. I have a question. Well, technically two questions. One was asking about the future M2 chip from Apple. So we're not on the gaming laptop side of things right now. And the second one would be from me when I was talking to Stephen, like laptop mistakes. And I guess we're going to also the third question. The U series of processors. So I guess it's going to be a multi-layered, but we could start with the future M2 CPU from Apple. And I saw Bob being really excited about that. So I'll give you the word, Bob.
Yeah, well, I could just tell you that I've tested the M1 and I thought it was a fantastic chip. I mean, it was really, really powerful. And I think the M2 it's going to blow everybody else.
It's incredible for laptops. It really is. And that was my favorite piece of tech for 2020 was the M1 and still is right now. Yeah. I mean, it left me with some bad taste in the mouth but those were all transitional issues. I don't really like Mac OS. And I was very clear on my long-winded discussion of that particular product. I think it's great. It just isn't for me. And again, that's more me than it is the chip itself. And I think, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I agree.
They're miles ahead of what anybody else can put in mobily for many reasons, not just a couple,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I actually filmed the review, did all my benchmarks on a MacBook Pro M1, and then I just haven't edited it together yet.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, me too. I haven't done it yet.
Steven as well. Yeah.
I got CES happened, and I was like, I don't have time to put it together now.
I mean, I tested its gaming, and it actually did fairly well. It was better than the Iris Xe graphics in general. So,
Yeah, I was running BioShock. I was running a number of games on full native like 3K res illusion, 60 frames per second, just with the M1 chips
That's
GPU on there.
crazy, man.
And
Wow.
I was like, this is nutty. Like, come on, like, give us a 45-watt TDP version of this and a full size MacBook Pro, and it will crush so much of the competition.
Yeah,
So
20 hours
like-
of battery life, you know.
yeah,
Full power
They-
on its battery too.
well, full power, I could kill it in 3 hours like, when I was playing video
On the
games.
M1?
So yeah, on the M1.
Yeah.
So it goes pretty quick if you like really crush it. But if you're doing something really optimized, yeah, it can go really, really long.
Yeah, I guess I
winded.
kind of blend those two together. I didn't mean running full power for 20 hours, but I'm just saying it will run full power on the battery, and then under normal use would get like 20 hours of like just chill runtime, you know?
Yeah. Okay. You had a second question, Red Oak?
Yeah, what was the second one I had? Oh yeah, laptop mistakes. If we have seen any big ones, any big oofs, so to speak, this year or in the past.
mistakes.
Yeah, like any of the big ones. I think for me it would be the high temps on Intel CPUs, and also not being able to get like AMD CPUs with better GPUs last year. So both of those things are pretty much related to last year's models. I don't know as much about the laptops this year. Like what would be the mistakes other than maybe 16:10 not being the desired resolution for gaming, but we're obviously clear that that's super good for productivity, and I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Well,
I would love to have a
I would-
16:10 model. Yeah, sorry.
I wouldn't say this was a mistake, but something I don't like is the soldered RAM. You see, I know we're trying to slim these laptops down, but but everything's soldered in, even the Wi-Fi card being soldered. I don't know.
Yeah, that can definitely be a bummer. If you need a laptop that has say 64 gigs or something, and you're getting something like the Flow X13, you just can't get 64.
You
No matter what, I
can't,
think 32 is max.
They're
So.
forcing you to buy the configuration as is, and that's it.
So I spent like a couple hours last night trying to figure out the Flow X13 has the little short stick on the PCIe, and I could not find any 2 terabyte shorties for SSDs.
Yep.
So 1 terabyte
they
seems
are.
to be the max right now.
That's what I've heard as well.
That's
And
like
that's
I
what
think
it comes
that's a
with
deal breaker
already.
for a lot of people. Yeah, like I'm
That's
pretty
all it'll
sure
allow, like the little 42 millimeter length one or whatever.
It's the
Yeah, it's the
2230s.
30. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 through 30. And I believe they used to offer 2 terabytes of
Wow.
those because I think I have some on my Alienware. I thought, but now I maybe I don't. No,
That's
I
a
think
good
I don't.
point.
But I think that's a deal breaker for a lot of people if 1 terabyte's the max you can get to. And then another thing I saw was the Razer Blade. I feel like Razer has like they've got some really interesting cooling in their Razer Blade Pro 17. I was watching from Wally's World or something of the new
The
3080.
Yeah,
He's in your chat.
Rob.
Yeah, he's in the chat right now.
Yeah, Rob.
So,
Good guy. So, follow his channel.
So he's that thing is pushing out great temperatures at 105 watts of usage. I was watching a bunch of his gameplay, and they could easily bump the TDP up to say 130 probably, and still have reasonable temps in the majority of games. And so I'm just like, why is Razer not trying to push performance more, especially if the GPU is only at 60 degrees at 105 watts? Like at least give us 115. Like give us the flexibility maybe to set a power profile change to like ramp up the fans and boost it to 130 or something. I don't know, maybe their VRMs can't handle it in their motherboard or something, but I was just kind of like I feel like Razer's performance potential is just not being met because of they're just limiting the TDP on the CPU and the GPU too much when the temperatures are already great.
They're
so
playing it safe, aren't they?
Yeah. So I think that's another mistake. I think I had one more. Oh, NVIDIA Optimus. I think just a lot of reviewers and a lot of laptops are coming with Optimus this year, and people aren't realizing that they're going to get reduced performance. I really want more awareness around Mux Switch, so that more laptop manufacturers are desired to put that in their laptops, or at least give us 2 versions of their machine, one with just Optimus that's maybe a little cheaper, and one that has a Mux Switch for $50 or $100 more. So I think a lot of people need to know about that and be aware of that.
Yeah, and I think they need to
Mm-hmm.
specify that on their specifications page as well, so people know.
Okay,
Yes, and I think Alienware has this issue. Like some of their laptops, depending on what display you pick, has a Mux Switch and other ones do not. And it depends on if it says G-Sync, I think, on the monitor display. I'm not even sure, but it was when I reviewed it, it was like so much confusion around it. You're just like, why don't they just say what it comes with for the battery life? Like, consumers need this information when they're buying. Shouldn't be a question mark.
I agree.
That's all I got.
Yeah. With regards to what you were saying, there was another thing.
Be right back.
Okay. Well, Brandon is no longer here. But what I want to say with regards to what he mentioned with showing or having different versions, I think that's going to overcomplicate things. Obviously, even if you have like a price difference of like $50, it doesn't matter. It's just like you create more product SKUs, and I don't think people want that, because then you're gonna have a ton of questions coming in from people asking like, should I go for the advanced Optimus version, or should I go for the one which doesn't have that but it's cheaper? Yeah, I don't think that's gonna make much sense. Like in marketing, you never want to have that.
Well, it's interesting you touched on the SKUs, because MSI have reduced theirs, haven't they, this year, which I think is quite a blessing, really. They had like crazy number of SKUs. Now ASUS has lots of SKUs.
Yeah, and it's bad. Like, technically you're looking at this like, just like in the way of like competition is better for the consumer, right? Like whenever you're looking at this, but whenever you are at a Best Buy or like wherever you are, whenever we're not going to be dealing with the human malware anymore, you're going to be stuck there seeing 10 different laptops which have like marginal differences between them, like I don't know, 1 to 2%, or like they're like $20, $30, $50 between them, and you're going to be really confused. Like we all know this happens like psychologically to everyone. It's not rocket science, So I don't think that would be a solution. You might think of being a solution right now, but in general, no. What do you think, Bob? I've been seeing you thinking a lot about it.
Just the SKUs in general. There's just too many of them. I think a lot of these like MSI will do it. They'll have like a Best Buy SKU, and I think it's their way of being able to track, like, oh, this one came from there, for example. That's what some of my sources have sort of led me to believe. But I think there's easier ways to do things. And I'm looking out for the consumer, but I'm also very considerate of the business as well. As a business owner myself, outside of Bob of All Trades, there's something really nice if you have just maybe like 6 different laptops versus like 6 different laptops within 6 different laptops within that one single version of that laptop to pan out to all these different, and like some of them will have 144 hertz, 100% sRGB. Some of them have 144 hertz, and then like 68% standard RGB and single channel memory. Like, well, why does that even exist? And these companies have to go out. They have to go to AUO or any of these other companies that make panels. They got to buy the display. Like, just slim it down, man. Make it easy on yourself. That's why I like Gigabyte. They don't mess around with that. They use good parts, and there's no shenanigans anymore. You know what I mean? And so it gets very muddy when it's like, well, I just bought the M15 also, but mine has a 100% sRGB panel, and yours didn't, and it's just, it's so lame. It's harder for the consumer to figure it out.
Another pet peeve of mine is like some models will have full RGB lighting on the keyboard, some won't. You know, you getting that? Does it have it? Does it not?
Yeah, whether it's per key, single, or just like one color.
And Dell charged $35 for an extra. Screw that, just put it in. I mean, it's
which I don't mind giving people options, right? If they want to price change or whatever. But the issue is like when you buy online, let's say from Newegg, and they don't specify what keyboard it comes with. It just says backlit. And you're like, is it multicolor? Is it single? Is it tri-zone? You don't know until you get it.
Subscribe to all of these channels to find out more information.
I love Newegg. I love all these retailers. Newegg tends to be a lot better, I think, than a lot of them. Say Best Buy. Newegg gives a lot more.
They
details.
ship to Australia, so that's a bonus.
Whoa, hey, but like I just get so frustrated when it's clearly a Max-Q GPU on other listings, and then let's say some other retailer just doesn't specify what it is, and now of course we're not supposed to say they're Max-Q, but like, what do you guys think about that? Do you still call laptops Max-Q or Max-P?
I do.
XMG
What-
Electronics, they still do. I think ASUS even does it right now, but just because, like I said, NVIDIA just decided to now no longer call it like a recommendation, but rather a requirement to specify the TGP. And I guess now they could also go back to Max-Q. But just to give the people an idea of what Max-Q is right now with the whole changes after CES, it's pretty much DLSS, dynamic boost, all of these features combined into one. So it's no longer, lower TGP, and that's it. So it's a little bit more problematic.
So I've got a question for you guys. Best $2,000 30 series laptop. What would you guys pick for the $2,000 price point? This is from Shadow Reaper.
Well, for me, that's Scar 17, I think.
With what GPU?
No,
is that?
not me. So the Strix. No, your Strix. Your Strix
The
G70.
3070?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I meant.
Mm.
That's like $1,800, isn't it?
Yeah.
Flashy LEDs.
Mac 15 G3.
Mac G15.
I think
Okay.
it's 2,000 exactly for the 3060.
Okay.
Okay.
Or maybe 3070 actually. Sorry, I
That
get
was your
confused with
laptop
which
last
options.
year too, wasn't it? You really liked that one.
Yeah, and now it's Ryzen and RTX 3000, and the camera's moved from nose cam to
Yep.
up top. So
And that does have a mux,
Okay,
right?
here. There is
yeah.
a
it
mistake.
does. Yep.
Here's
Those
a
are
mistake
amongst, right?
which we
Yeah.
didn't cover somehow. Like the
And
nose
it's a
cam.
quad HD.
Bob, what's your pick?
I'm gonna have to go with Jarrod on that one.
The Mac 15?
Yeah.
So you'd
yep,
rather
yep.
get a 3060 than a 3070? That's the
Yeah.
$2,000 price
I mean,
point?
that's
Interesting.
for me, like
Mhm.
the perfect laptop's gonna honestly, the only company that makes the perfect laptop for me right now would probably be Lenovo. Because it's got a MUX. I want a 500 nit, 100% Adobe RGB 1080p display.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
those two are huge for me. Honestly, Intel CPU is still going to be who I go with because I live the laptop life. I added everything, and Intel is way faster than anything Ryzen has right now. And
For the
and
programs you use.
a GPU,
Yeah,
and I don't
quick
care,
sync.
3060. All I play is Overwatch casually anyway. I'm good.
So
Okay.
correction,
Valorant,
the
stuff like that,
2000 the $2,000 model is actually 3070,
Okay,
But
that makes more
it's-
sense, Jared.
but
Good.
it's a Intel 8-core, at least at
Oh.
electronics.
Dun, dun, dun.
I see.
The
Okay.
XMG
What do you think?
is Ryzen there.
What do you think, Rad?
Yeah, I would go either with the same or go with a Strix G17.
Okay. I think for me, I like, as much as I love the performance of the Strix G17, I'd actually maybe lean towards the Zephyrus G15 as well, because that has the QHD 100% Adobe RGB display, 165 hertz. This only has the 1080p display.
Yep.
And I also travel a lot, so having the extra portability, I guess it depends. Like this, I love a 17-inch chassis. I prefer to game on a 17, but there are times when I'm traveling a lot. A 15-inch chassis with 4.5 pounds is pretty nice.
It's nice.
I'm with you
Yeah.
on that.
Traveling a lot, so like
Yeah.
a year ago.
Yeah, about a year
Not right
ago,
now.
exactly. Actually,
So Brandon, are you getting the XG mobile as well?
in like the one that I purchased, yeah, we'll see. Asus is contemplating sending me something, but they haven't confirmed sending me any review units yet. So I'm gonna keep my pre-order going until they decide to send me something. But we'll see. Like if the display has ghosting, I think that's a deal breaker for me in terms of gaming usage on the Flow X13. So I actually also ordered a Scar 15 with a 3080, so that might actually replace my laptop. We'll see.
Great.
Hope they're
Well,
not
I think-
gonna delay it for you.
Yeah, I bought it. Yeah, it might be a delay. We'll see.
Do we still
well,
have time for a last question with the U series of processors and like ultra portable laptops,
Yeah.
not only for gaming? So what are
Last
your
question.
What are your thoughts on that, actually? Because I've been looking at them and thinking a lot of them how practical they could be, especially if you don't want to play AAA titles. Like right now with the Ryzen 5000 U series of processors, you might still be able to.
You're talking
get...
about like the HS, like the 5900 HS. It's good, like the lower TDPs.
No,
or are you talking about
no,
the U?
'cause-
Just the U.
yeah,
the
just
15
just
watt
the U.
parts.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Because with the
I don't know if we'll
HS,
see many of those with discrete graphics because we didn't last generation. There was like a couple.
yeah, but that's the point that I'm trying to make. You could still get like very light gaming done on them right now with the performance.
Like
if
on
I'm
the
not
iGPU?
mistaken. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can use the iGPU, like 720p AAA games,
Yeah.
medium settings, some higher settings, depends on the game.
Yeah.
1080p on esports titles works okay.
That's why. That's why I meant with like esports titles, like maybe you could go for 1080p and like 60. You don't go, because either way you're most probably not gonna have. Technically, you're going to have 90 hertz on Lenovo laptops. So, yeah.
I think, I mean, typically those are in like 13-inch laptops, and I like the way ASUS is going with the X13 Flow. You know, that's a CPU scales very well. You know.
Yeah,
cool.
I think if you're going to go thin and light, you got to go with the 5900 HS series instead of the U if you want to go for gaming. But
I think so. You know. Anyway, I think that's it. I'd like to thank everybody for jumping in and joining, and you know, perhaps we can expand it. Seemingly in Zoom, we can have like 49 people.
Cool. So, you know, I'm going to continue my live stream. So if you guys want to, from Stevens, I'm going to do the GS66 live benchmarks coming up here. I got all those applications installed, so ready to go.
Okay, great.
How long are you going to be on, Brandon?
Well, given how long this is going to go, the last live benchmarking took 4 hours, so it's probably going to take somewhere in that ballpark.
Sweet. I'll join your chat here in a little bit, man.
Yeah, we can talk about the GS66, you know, the one that you have versus this one, because this is the ZTech PC repasted version. So
Phobia.
Yeah.
Yep.
I might just watch that for another 10-15 minutes if you're gonna do it, because it's like 1 a.m. here in Germany, but I might go for that.
But yeah, let's go ahead and do like a little outro segment. So this will be good for our videos if we post any to our channel of the highlights of this. So thanks so much for watching, guys. This is GizmoSlipTech. We got Bob of All Trades over here, Steven from OwnOrDisown, Jarrod from Jarrod'sTech, and Alex from the Rad Alex. So if you guys want to check them out, there's links in the description to their channels as well. And then more live stream coming up with the GS66. I'm going to end this live stream and start a new one. So there will be a new live stream notification. So it'll be like in 5 or 10 minutes. I'll start that up. So I'm going to bite to eat and then do it. So
all right. Thanks again.
Cool.
Bye now.
Thanks, you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
See you guys.
Ciao.
All right. Bye-bye.